Well, it's looking better. We just have to wait a few hours. We're waking up to smoke and haze once again out there this Sunday morning. But by about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock this afternoon, we'll start to see some clearing and sunshine once again. Temperatures are going to warm up today, but they will cool off tomorrow. We're at 66 right now. We're going to get up to about 81 degrees by lunchtime. The smoke does start to thin out around that time as well. And we're in store for sunny skies and warm temperatures by this afternoon. We'll top out right around 95 for a high here in the metro area today. Some areas still making it into the triple digits today. We'll talk about that, as well as this much anticipated cool down, Galen. We'll have all that coming up in your full forecast.
I know I'm looking forward to that. Keely, thank you so much. We begin the 7 o'clock half hour with the pandemic. And new research shows about 1/3 of COVID survivors deal with symptoms months after getting the virus. Some of those long haulers in Oregon are begging people to protect themselves so COVID does not do the same to others. Here's KGW's Morgan Romero.
You don't want this.
I met Donna Parzik in the spring after she got COVID.
The symptoms are extremely scary.
Nearly half a year later, she's still dealing with those symptoms.
I still am having debilitating side effects.
She struggles to breathe, has nerve damage in her hand, and feels wiped out.
So I might have a couple of good days, but then I'm down for a bit. It's just really hard to, on a daily basis, go back to living how I used to.
How she used to, before long COVID changed her life.
It's hugely depressing. I definitely feel depressed. I just want to feel better.
I feel very defeated.
Beth Belknap, a single mom of 3, got COVID for the second time in November.
I haven't bounced back.
She's now one of thousands of Oregonians who's become a long hauler.
I can't be the mom that I want to be. I have to be very careful with what I do. I'm over that short-term part, where you feel like you're going to die. But my whole world has changed, and I don't know when or if I'm ever going to get that back.
Beth and Donna don't want anyone else to suffer like they are.
And I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
But they know more people will, as Oregon's COVID cases and hospitalizations climb to record highs.
And it scares me about what is going to happen to them.
And vaccination rates stall out.
That's why I actually contacted you again, because it's just such a sad, sad shame that these vaccines are out there so easily accessible, and people are still choosing, to be put on ventilators.
The best way to protect yourself and those around you from this virus is by getting vaccinated. 70% of Oregonians over 18 have at least one shot, meaning hundreds of thousands still aren't protected.
And it frustrates me that, there's people holding us back to move forward.
Nervous about the vaccines at first, both Donna and Beth got theirs.
It's the only way out. That's how we got out of smallpox. That's how we've gotten out of measles. If you haven't been vaccinated, you need to get vaccinated.
Morgan Romero reporting for us. Now, the FDA says people with compromised immune systems can now also get an extra dose of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. The state of Washington is allowing healthcare workers to start that process right away, too. The Department of Health says the vaccines are more than 90% effective at protecting against most virus variants. But new data suggests people with weaker immune systems do not build the same level of protection as others. Officials say people should wait at least 28 days after their second dose to get the third. And also they say that you should get the same vaccine as before. For a full list of people who are approved, head over to our website, kgw.com. And some people living in Washington want Governor Jay Inslee to require vaccines for teachers, like he did for some state employees. The state superintendent of schools says it's needed to make sure schools stay open this fall. Chris Reichtel says simply testing once a week, like they're doing in several other states, is too risky.
For those folks who are frustrated by mask requirements or vaccine requirements, they need to understand the consequences of a variant like Delta impacting us as it is clearly doing in parts of the country with devastating impacts. We will have to shut down schools.
The governor's office is looking at ways to increase vaccination rates, but it did not expand the mandate to apply to teachers. Not all schools are waiting for the governor to make that decision. Seattle's public schools will require all non-union staff members to get vaccinated. They're also in talks with the teachers union about mandating the shot for all staff. And with the new school year about a month away and school districts across Oregon and Washington getting ready, what can you expect for your kids? Well, it turns out it really depends on where you live. Christine Pitawanich has a rundown of those plans.
The Delta variant has thrown a big wrench in back-to-school plans. Some districts already had plans in place. Then, the Oregon Department of Education and Health Authority came out with an update. It requires face coverings in all K-12 indoor school settings. That's regardless of vaccination status. For the Umatilla School District in Eastern Oregon, that was a big change.
Well, we've had a real knack for just about every time we have taken a plan public, it seems like almost exactly the very next day it changes.
Superintendent Heidi Sipe says they had just announced masks would be optional. Umatilla County, according to the CDC, has one of the lowest vaccination rates in Oregon at about 40% and a high rate of COVID transmission. The masking policy change for some parents was not well received.
They're, of course, frustrated that that change happened.
Sipe says she plans to follow the rules, but is advocating to restore local control of these kinds of decisions and is even meeting with the governor to try to do it.
We still have our plan ready to go as soon as local control is restored.
Meantime, in Multnomah County, where the vaccination rate is close to 70%, the largest district in Oregon, Portland Public Schools, has no qualms with the new guidance.
From the very beginning, we have said we would be guided by public health experts, not politics, not the loudest expressed perspectives, not popular opinion.
Portland Public Superintendent Guadalupe Guerrero says school will start on September 1st, with students getting in-person instruction 5 days a week, masked up. Other measures will include 3 feet of physical distancing to the extent possible, increasing ventilation and air quality, as well as COVID testing for symptomatic people.
Christine Pitawanich for us there. Now, Vancouver Public Schools will also be requiring masks for all staff and students. Salem-Keizer Public Schools, the second largest district in Oregon, hopes to have a plan finalized soon. A small memorial now sits at the spot of a deadly shooting in Gresham on Friday. We've got an update here on that story. Detectives identified the victim as 21-year-old Dominic Jacoby. That name is familiar to some local sports fans. He starred in football and basketball at Barlow High School before graduating in 2019. Barlow basketball coach Tom Johnson told us Jacoby was a great teammate and friend, and his loss is crushing to the community.
I don't think there's anybody that ever played with him that wouldn't say that he supported them wholeheartedly. For me personally, I loved him. I went back through his text messages yesterday, and he ended every text message he ever sent me with, "I love you, Coach." And that means a whole lot to me.
Yeah, I bet. Now, at this point, Gresham police have not released any details about that shooting, and we do know there have been no arrests. We've got another update in that breaking news we brought you yesterday. In Haiti this morning, more than 300 people are dead from that strong 7.2 earthquake. The U.S. Geological Survey predicts the death toll could reach into the thousands. It's the latest struggle for Haitians who take one blow after another. People are concerned this quake caused destruction similar to one in 2010. That's when about 220,000 people died and 1.5 million were displaced. On top of all of that, Tropical Storm Grace could complicate things even more next week.
If there are people that are already in search for shelter and cannot go back into their houses, and then exposed to the winds and the rain that comes with this tropical storm, that is a highly unfortunate combination of a 1-2 punch.
Groups from our area are mobilizing to help, and some are already in Haiti. Cara Buck with Portland-based Mercy Corps now lives in the country's capital of Port-au-Prince, about 80 miles from the earthquake epicenter. She's helping guide her team of 19 who live near that epicenter before more help arrives next week. Another Portland-based nonprofit, Brighten Haiti, shipped 4,000 solar panels to the island a couple weeks ago. Schools without power were going to use those, but now they're going to be sent out to more people.
What was your gut feeling when you heard this?
Haiti just can't catch a break. Violence and corruption, earthquakes, disasters, hurricanes are just always something that's there.
That was Kevin Keene there with Brighten Haiti, and he says support from the U.S. can go a long way, and you can help too. Mercy Corps set up a donation page on its website, and we have that linked on KGW.com for you this morning. Well, still to come, helping survivors of domestic violence in a way you may not have thought about before. How a new nonprofit is ensuring financial stability so survivors can more easily leave abusive relationships.